Well, hey everybody, I have glasses on today, so that means I'm going to be reading to you. And yeah, it's going to be my 400 subscribers. I just passed 420, I want to say 7 is where I'm at right now. I don't know. It fluctuates daily, honestly. It goes up and down. So I don't know, but I have passed 400, and that's what's important to me. And a few of you, some of you who've been here for quite some time, and some of you that I've, new faces that I've seen over the year, ask some questions, and I'm really excited to answer them for you. Is going to be hopefully short. A lot of this stuff is going to be off the cuff because I think it's more natural for people to kind of be put on the spot. I've read some of these things and I thought about it a little bit, but for the most part, some of this might be just off the top of my head. So regardless, I thank you so much for checking out my channel and subscribing to my what I do when I love most on this thing. I really love talking about film. I love movies, and you can clearly tell. And based on anything that you've seen before on my channel, based on my movie reviews, based on my top 10 kind of series, my genre series, my new 100 Years of Movies series, my Blu-ray hauls, my Blu-ray hunting, I love the camaraderie of the community. And I really want to say that I want this video to also show that I want a little bit more of a community. I'm probably not the best when it comes to responding to everybody all the time, or keeping up with everyone, or even really watching some of my subscribers' videos, and I'm sorry about that, but I'm gonna try to do better on this. That way I can actually learn a little bit more about all of you, and that way you can learn more about me, yada yada yada. Make this a thing, and make this more of a bigger endeavor. So let's just get into this. Let's answer some questions. So Shane Palmer is the first person to say something, at least on the top of my thing here. So it says, congratulations on 4 subscribers. Thank you, Shane. As a relatively recent subscriber, I have to say that what kept me watching your channel is your love for film. Although that sounds cheesy, I think there are plenty of Blu-ray movie channels that are solely about collecting. Your content seems to be wholly your own. For that, a huge thank you. As far as questions go, I am actually interested in knowing more about your graduate thesis. Unless you are completely tired of talking about it, I can only imagine how much time and effort went into it. Congratulations again. All right, Shane, you're kind of partially right. I am a little tired of it, but actually I did a seminar paper mainly because I didn't know if I wanted to get my doctorate or not. If many of you don't know, I have just recently graduated with my master's degree in communication. It is like a fun, long process, but it's one of the most it's one of the greatest things I've ever accomplished. And also I was a teaching assistant, and I've now become, a per course adjunct faculty member and teaching public speaking, because that's really what I teach. And I really love talking in front of people, as you can tell. I'm not the best at it because sometimes I have a lot of vocal fillers, but whatever. We're all human. So anyway, what I did for my graduate thesis, aka seminar paper, I actually worked at a record store for about 3.5 years, almost 4 years, and about a year ago, it's been a long time, we got the news that we were closing down. And so this is one of my favorite places in the world. I live in Springfield, Missouri, and there's a place called CD Warehouse, which used to be a big old, corporate kind of CD and vinyl kind of record store. But we became independent quite a long time ago. But once I got there, it was kind of the dying days of the record store, especially our store particularly. But the people there were some of the greatest people I've ever met. Some of my best friends now are employees or ex-employees there, and and if you've seen High Fidelity or Empire Records, it's a little bit of both. Probably more on High Fidelity. It's definitely a bunch of assholes who think their opinion's better than everyone else's, which is true because we do think we are. I'm a metalhead, which I'll get to that later because there's some questions about music. So yeah, I really loved this place, and so once I found out that we were closing, it took a really big toll on me because this is like literally a place away from home. And so how does that connect to my graduate seminar paper? I actually have always been a fan of stories, as you can tell with this stuff. And so last year when I was watching A Ghost Story with Casey Affleck, which was my favorite movie from last year, that and Blade Runner 2049, but when I watched that movie, I was in the theater by myself, and it was a very emotional film for me. And I watched it, and then a couple weeks later, I got the news about CD Warehouse, and the movie clicked with me a lot more. And I haven't seen it since. I'm actually waiting for a particular time and moment when I can watch it again, because I really love this movie. It was one of the, most emotionally impactful movies of my life. So why does that have to do with my seminar paper? So what I did was I actually crafted this thing. I don't know if you are familiar with Hegel. He's a philosopher during the 1800s. So it's kind of the more of the newer wave of philosophers. But Hegel really talks about the conception of Geist and public Geist. So what he's talking about there is that places and events have a meaning to people, and they have, kind of just some kind of, how to explain it, it has some kind of memory attached to it, a stain, a residue. So like think ectoplasm, think this Geist thing is really just a thing that haunts somebody or a place. And so I know that's really broad, but I pretty much, in one paper, about 30 pages, I practically talked about a ghost story at the very beginning, and how it related to the closing of CD Warehouse. So I was talking about CD Warehouse, and I literally went through each section of the store, conjuring memories of just different customer experiences, different musical experiences, just all sorts of things, good and bad, in there. And I really fleshed out this theory, talking about that, and also narrative storytelling. I tried to connect the two, and my graduate faculty really liked this seminar paper, and so that was fun. It was really emotionally draining. It was probably one of the funnest things I've ever was able to write in college, because I've written a lot of papers. Yeah, so anyway, that's all about that, because it's a long one. But yeah, I really loved that paper. And my graduate thesis, I've written many things, mostly on narrative paradigm and narrative storytelling. Langelier and Peterson, and the narrative storytelling, and the narrative paradigm. That is, why am I blanking right now? I've written so many papers on him. It's literally Walter Fisher. So I've written a lot of things. Communication's kind of my background, so that's the philosophy of communicating is the stuff that I really like. All right, so let's move on to Nathan Treadway. Thanks, Nathan, for commenting. And by the way, thank you, Shane, for asking that question. Nathan Treadway, favorite film you do not own yet, excluding things released in the last year. That one's a really tough one, because a lot of the things that I have on my wish list are things I have not seen yet. So there's very few things that I've seen that I don't have. So I really can't tell you, but there's some things that I'm anticipating that I cannot wait to see. Some of those being Fanny and Alexander. I have a lot of Criterions on my list here. Let me just check real quick. Fanny and Alexander popped up. High and Low from Kurosawa. I haven't seen Blue Velvet, so I haven't really seen much David Lynch, and honestly I'm kind of scared too, because I don't know if I'm going to like him or not. For the most part, I don't think I will. I'll see Mulholland Drive probably. I know that's one of the greatest films of all time, but I'll eventually watch these films. So those are some of the answers that I'll say, because I'll just keep it short and sweet on that one. Nathan's second question, do you have any sort of cataloging system for keeping track of what you own? Yes, actually, I'm using my phone right now, but CLZ Movies, which used to be like a comic app where you can scan your comic, the UPC code. You can just scan all of your movies, your DVDs, or Blu-rays, or your 4Ks or whatever, and they're probably going to be bound to be on that thing. And so I use that. I think I spent $14 flat to have the app. I think it's free up to 100 movies, and clearly I have more than 100, so yeah. So I definitely bought the app, and it's a lifesaver. I can see what I haven't seen, what I have seen, even though I keep track of that myself as well. But this is just good once I'm out there buying stuff. I'm like, I don't remember if I bought this or not. And there's very few times that I do that, but sometimes I've bought, that's not a word. Sometimes I've bought multiple things that I've already owned. So it's definitely a help. So CLZ Movies is what I use. All right, and last question from Nathan. What are some films that everyone else thinks are garbage but you actually love? There's actually a few. Van Helsing, the Hugh Jackman film. I really love that movie. It's not good. It's not good at all, but I grew up with it, and I kind of love those things. That, in all honesty, this is a bad movie, and I admit I don't own it because I don't want to own it. But Wild Wild West, I had a fun time when I was a kid watching that movie. It's a terrible movie, especially when you watch it in retrospect. But there's other films like Expendables. I love all the Expendables movies. There's no shame there. Those aren't good movies, but they're just straight up fun, and I really love things like that. But there's very few movies that I would say that are bad that I own. I would say I looked it up the other day, and I think I had about, out of my 1,200 movies, I think I would say a good 20 of them are actually like movies that are like, you probably shouldn't own these, but whatever. So, 20 out of 1,200 is pretty good. So, for bad movies. So, thank you, Nathan, for asking those questions. I appreciate everything you've said. All right, let's move on to SJS Films. If you could resurrect any film director, who would it be? And that one I thought about for a little bit, and I have a feeling that I would like to see Akira Kurosawa. The last thing that I saw from him was Hidden Fortress, because I'm going through the 1950s right now, but the last thing he made, if I recall, was Dreams. And they're all short vignettes, just kind of short films on things that Kurosawa dreamt about. And man, what an experimental director, on top of just a conventional. He's done all the things, he's done samurai movies, he's done some contemporary societal films happening in Japan and post-World War II Japan. I haven't seen everything he's done, but I would love to see what he's making in the current age. There's the typical answer like Kubrick, but I don't know if he'd even be wanting to make any films anymore, because I know that he probably would have stopped eventually, and that's something that I can respect. So those are probably two things that I'd pick. I thought Sidney Lumet would be a good thing too. I haven't seen very many films with him. 12 Angry Men, Network I've seen. I want to see a couple more, but they're always compelling. The dialogue, the social commentary is just always amazing. So I would like to see all those directors have different things come out. All right, and the second thing is he said favorite bands. Okay, so I have a lot of favorite bands. I'm a metalhead, if you can't tell. This is an Ocean shirt. I don't know if you know the Ocean. They're a German band. But I'm a metalhead. I also really love classic rock. I have these generic Zeppelin tattoos. I love Led Zeppelin. So I'd say my top 5 favorite bands are Led Zeppelin. I like Opeth. Not OTEP. Opeth. Yes. Because I love progressive rock and progressive metal. I would say I like the band ISIS. And yes, I'm talking about the band. They're not around anymore. They're a post-metal band, kind of like Neurosis. I really love ISIS. My fourth band, if I'm going to just go back classics, Pink Floyd. They're just so influential and so diverse in their catalog. It's just astounding. And then I'd say the last band that I'll pick, this one's tough because it always changes. I'll just tell you 3. So Between the Buried and Me, I really like. That's another progressive band that all their catalog just sounds different, except for the newer stuff. Mastodon, I really love. Another band that all their catalog, just every album of theirs sounds different. And then I would say Gazpacho, which is a Norwegian progressive rock band, art rock band that I really, really like. So yeah, those are some of my bands that I really like. Some of them everyone knows, like Led Zeppelin, Mastodon, Pink Floyd. Some of them, like ISIS, Gazpacho, not enough people know, and I think they should. So those are my favorite bands. All right, last question. And if it could be cool if you started a weekly or monthly video series where you would talk about your favorite films, TV shows you watch in the week or month. That's more of a comment, so I guess I misread it. But yeah, I would love to do something like that. I had to think about the logistics of it all. But yeah, thank you, SJS Films. I know you're a longtime subscriber, and I appreciate your question, and I appreciate you for sticking around for so long. I want to hear your favorite bands. Tell me some of those. All right, Rage and Honor asks, congrats on 400. My question is, what is your favorite decade of films? My favorite decades of films probably would be... So I'm going through the decades right now, so it's actually kind of getting difficult to pick my favorite decade. In all honesty, it's either the 70s or the 80s. 80s has the most fun films. 70s has the most iconic films, I want to say. So 70s have stuff like Jaws, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. You have the first Star Wars. You have Dog Day Afternoon. All these different things. A lot of Kubrick films. And then the 80s, like I love 1987, like I don't shut up about it, because I just love Princess Bride, I love Predator, I love Harry and the Hendersons, I love, why am I blanking? 1987 has so many movies. Adventures in Babysitting, Lethal Weapon. It has Monster Squad. It has there's literally like 19. Wings of Desire, which I still haven't seen yet, but I really want to. There's a lot of things in 1987, but like just the 80s have a lot of fun movies. So I don't know. I would say 70s. I'm gonna say 70s just for just objective purposes. All right. So thank you, Rage and Honor. And last question, last commenter, and has quite a few questions. 5-star, which I know is another long-time subscriber. Thank you, 5-star, for putting your comments here. He says, no need to read what is in quotes out loud. That's hilarious. I'm literally reading these. Favorite silent era comedian. So once I was back in the 1918s, or 1918 to 1928, I was definitely aware of Charlie Chaplin, and also, why am I blanking right now? Come on. Buster Keaton, and there was one more, which I can't think of, in Safety Last. I can't remember his name. But I want to say Buster Keaton. I haven't seen very few. I've seen very few Buster Keaton films, but The General really stuck out for me. I really loved that movie. But Charlie Chaplin, I've seen a lot more of. Like, I really love Gold Rush. That movie's so great, and I really love The Kid, and I also love Dog Days, A Dog's Life. So I just really love those films, and yeah, I would say I need to see more Buster Keaton films, but I want to say Buster Keaton. So top 3 boutique film distributors, so like Criterion, Shout, Box, Scream Factory, all that stuff. Number 1 would definitely be Criterion for me. I have quite a few up there, and actually I think I might do some kind of Criterion collection video sometime soon. I haven't seen all of them. There's like I've seen about 70% of them, but I'm getting through them since I'm doing this whole film decade thing. Number 2, I would say, I think Kino Lorber is something that I've recently discovered a lot more of, and I really like a lot of the things that they put out. But I really like a lot of the classics they put out, because they have like Run Deep, Run Silent, Run Deep, something like that. I can't remember the name. The submarine film with Clark Gable. And they also have like Judgment at Nuremberg, which is just a fantastic film, which made me actually want to go get Showa, and I have Showa back there, and I'll watch that eventually. It's going to be a long one, and it's going to be a hard one. But I'd say Kino Lorber. And then the third one, I would say, for distributing things purposes, probably Arrow. I mean, I really don't have any Arrow films, but I have Cinema Paradiso, and I really love that Italian film. And I need to get more Arrow films, but I'm not huge on like B movies, nor am I huge on horror. Like, and I'm talking about like specific niche horror stuff. And there's the refrigerator starting, so it's gonna really be cool on the audio. But yeah, I'm not huge on Scream Factory. Like, really, like I like some of the things that they put out for sure. I definitely have some things from theirs. I have a lot of John Carpenter stuff, but I would say Arrow is the third one. All right, favorite skateboard movie. I actually have not seen any skateboard movies really, except for like ones back on like the Disney Channel back in like the late 90s, early 2000s. I really couldn't tell you. But yeah, there's Thrashing, Lords of Dogtown, and Gleaming the Cube. I definitely know of Lords of Dogtown, but I really couldn't tell you my favorite skateboarding movie. I'm sorry, really don't know. Favorite music documentary. I haven't seen very many music documentaries. Honestly, I'm not a big documentary person. I have a few music DVDs and like kind of like live concerts over there. I would say my favorite thing that I've seen is probably actually The Ocean. They actually put a pretty lengthy documentary and concert collection, like a 3-disc thing, and I really, really liked it. But yeah, The Ocean Collective, they have Collecting Oblivion is what it's called, and I really liked that one. But I need to watch more. I need to watch like A Hard Day's Night for the Beatles, and I need to watch some Woodstock stuff, even though I'm just not huge on documentaries. I mean, I'll eventually get there, but we'll see. I want to hear, what are some of your favorites? I want to hear maybe some documentaries to check out down below. Yeah, even music documentaries too. And then finally, favorite thrash metal band. They have Slayer, Metallica, Megadeth, Sodom, Creator, or blank. I actually picked Testament. I actually like Testament a little bit more than the other ones. I do like Creator quite a bit as well. Metallica I never got into. I really like James as a person, but I really hate his voice. So I just can't get into it. Slayer, kind of like just the one album I like of theirs. Megadeth, he's so crony sometimes, you know, like, hello, me. Like, you know, Dave Mustaine, but I mean, you know, that's just one song, but I'm just not huge into thrash. I really like thrash death and thrash black metal. So thrash death metal like Revocation, and thrash black metal like Skeleton Witch. I really love the death metal bands, and I really love black metal. Alright, so that ends it. That's my niche talk right there. I can talk all day about music. I really love metal. But yeah, so thank you so much for checking this video out. It's a little bit longer than I wanted it to be, but I really wanted to thank everyone for commenting. All 5 of you, you are amazing. And for all the people who haven't commented, I want to thank you as well, because, you know, you're checking this video out, so it's amazing, and hopefully I'll see you at 500. I might make another one. Alright, give this video a like, comment down below, let me know some of your thoughts. Hey, answer some of these questions yourself. I want to hear these answers. I want to hear your answers. I want to hear some recommendations. Don't forget to share this video and also subscribe, and I'll see you next time. I'm not jonesing around.